everyone's learning so much information, and this technology is just going to be a blessing to accelerate the process of human evolution in consciousness. We're here to expand, to untap our human potential, which we all have, but suppressed and limited because of our belief system. And this gift is going to just really untap that and help us to get there a lot more quicker.
Welcome, beautiful beings, to season 2 of the Cosmic Love Antenna podcast with your host, Harrison Ma. This podcast sets the loving intention of creating the mystical space needed to pull back the layers restricting health, alignment, and love. Now let's walk you home to your cosmic spiritual heart space. Good morning, afternoon, evening, beautiful mystical beings. Welcome back to the show. I'm excited for another powerful, mystical, spiritual, deep chat here today. I have a lovely soul, a powerful being to share with you today. But before I get to her, a quick reminder for all of the lovely souls joining this chat that are new to the Cosmic Love Antenna and new to this chat, new to this platform. Please remember, if you get value out of this conversation today, how you can help me build this show, expand this community, expand this conversation is by sharing this out with your friends, your family members, your lovers. And if you get a bit of feedback, if you get a bit of insight out of this conversation today, you can always leave this over on reviews on Apple and Spotify. This helps the show expand into the cosmos as well. Today's conversation is with the lovely Eetane. And we're going to be talking about, Eetane is an interesting practitioner. She works with a powerful device called the Healy, right? And Eetane is a conscious creator. She's a wellness and Healy practitioner, and she works deeply in the quantum, which is also what we're going to get into today. We're going to talk about really what the Healy is, how it can help us heal, right? What is the quantum nature of it all, energy fields, chakras, frequency, and of course, the love behind it. Beautiful Eetane, welcome to the Cosmic Love Antenna.
Hi, Harrison. Thanks for having me. Very honored to be on the podcast today.
How are you feeling, my friend? I know that before we started the conversation, there was some nerves coming up. What's the energy? Where's the energy at now?
I'm actually excited, and that's it's a very confusing thing, and the excitement is like hardly can contain myself because I love talking about Healy a lot. And sometimes I tend to just kind of getting too excited and just kind of run off to, off track, talking about anything like quantum entanglement, because I find it such an interesting theory. And I'm just loving the time that we're living now, because, with so many amazing modalities that we have, this Healy is such a gift to the world, and I can't wait to share it.
Yeah. And we'll get into it today. So thank you for sharing that, my friend. We'll get into the Healy and the quantum of it all. But just to assure you, my friend, there's so much love in my heart for you, but also for the community that's tuning in. So, right, even though that when we're recording this, there's a time difference in between when the people will hear it. But from a quantum perspective, there is no time difference. So the love of the people that are listening to this right now, you can feel in your heart, right? So let's start, Eetane. I do want to get into the Healy and then all the quantum of it all, but I think I want to start with you and your heart. And how I like to start these shows is giving a quick sort of summary of the soul that you are, right? I'm going to hear a bit about more of what you are in the questions ahead, but I would love to know, Eetane, the practitioner that you are now, working with all things quantum, working with the Healy. What was the shift? What was the pain teacher? What was the awakening moment that led you to this beautiful light that I now get to be a part with?
Well, interestingly, when I actually discovered myself and, awakening moment, so to speak, it was actually happening just about 2 years ago when the world was a little bit chaotic. Growing up, I'm actually of a Malaysian descent. So I'm a Chinese Malaysian, and I grew up in Malaysia. I came to Australia to study when I was in my 20s, and growing up from the country and the culture, back there, it was very different compared to the culture here. So a lot of different understanding and social expectation that I have. And it just very much translated into my daily life, right? So was, I got married very quickly when I came here because I met my husband, and then 5 years later we had a family. And so for a very long time, for more than a decade, I was basically living what everyone, is like social expectation or personal expectation on how I was being programmed to be a mother, to be a wife. And
Eetane, can I ask a question just with that? Because I'm picking up this already. How would you describe your conscious state? Would you have called yourself asleep, or would you have called yourself awake?
I would say half asleep mostly, because growing up I had understanding about spirits, right? I have a grandmother that could communicate with spirits, and we lived in a haunted house for quite a few years, to be honest with you, and some of my siblings had encountered the spirits. And so I knew there's something beyond what we can see and feel like beyond the five senses. But with the normal daily life and the society, it kind of like get put behind. But I know something is missing. So for me, it was more like I could feel there's something else that need to be awakened. So for me, I would say it's half asleep, because until the March of 2020, I was feeling quite lost, and a lot of times trapped into some kind of a box, in terms of what has to be done a certain way, the life that is somewhat mundane as well. And I thought to myself, there's got to be more. But I was at a stage where I was kind of unhappy, in a sense that I feel like in my heart something was missing. I had a very lovely family. Like, my family is beautiful, and I'm, loving husband and children, but something is missing, and I feel empty somehow. And I did get into the period of, depression, which is not very, and I had to suppress it, obviously, because it's just how I was brought up to be, like, just to be happy on the outside.
Yeah. And can I ask you, Tane, so thank you for sharing that, by the way. And I think that I know that I've shared my story, and the big parts of that suppression and that pushing down. I think it's a symptom of the collective that we live in, right? The symptom of the society that we live in, a symptom of a only mental society, right? And the mind is a beautiful part of us, but when we are only in the mind and we ignore the feelings and the sensing and the intuiting, then I think an outcome of that is what you're describing and what I've experienced. So, Eetane, jumping ahead here, then, within this experience that you had, where does the quantum or the Healy, where does that fit into you? Did that help you come to a sort of deeper understanding of yourself?
Oh, yes. For me personally, it has been a radical shift on the physical, emotional, and spiritual level. And I was a completely different person before Healy came into my life. It's transformed my health, also emotionally and spiritually. And I'm just so grateful for the gift that I received. Like, I think I attracted into my life, because I was just really needing that something to open me up. And the funny thing is that I actually started to get drawn into the realm of energy just 6 months before that. I started to get really intrigued by crystals and stuff like that, and then study a lot about it, and really kind of understand energy a little bit more. And it just unexpectedly I have Healy came into my life. And yeah,
it opened you up.
It opened my, yep.
I love it.
Hugely.
So I don't know if you know this, my friend, because we have a mutual a mutual friend, Claudia, and Claudia's been on the show, and Claudia and I met through the Lucia light, and my awakening journey is very similar to yours in the way that technology came into my world and facilitated my light expanding as well, right? The light, that technology, which is quantum in many ways, much like the Healy is, it expanded my light as well. So I think, and we'll talk about this later, but I think what this is an indicator of is, there's so much negativity in the world when we, especially from the spiritual community, when we look at technology, right? I feel like there's a lot of it's justified, a lot of hate towards technology detaching us from our spiritual essence. But from what you've experienced and from what I've experienced, there is actually spiritual tech out there, if you want to call it that, or quantum tech out there that can actually bring us home to this truth that maybe we've been disconnected from. Do you resonate with that?
Oh yeah, very much so. And I want to touch on about Claudia as well. She's actually a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And we met through Healy. And it's funny how you mentioned that you met her through Lucia Light. And we met through in a community and connected through actually the Healy device. How amazing is that we get to be connected this way, and and then brought together like that. So I personally think that the technology in a way is not really bad. It's about how we use it. And for the spiritual technology, things like the Lucia Light, which I've experienced it myself, and it's a completely different experience, and I love it. They could act as a bridge for us to basically expand our consciousness, and what a gift, because there's so many now. But yeah, and it was just really such a blessed time we live in right now. So
yeah, I'm really grateful for it, and I'm excited for what's going to come. So let's break this down now, my friend, for people that are new to this Healy device, right? This we've touched on it a couple times already in this chat. Let's go deeper into it. So if you're explaining to someone for the first time what the Healy is, how do you explain it to a complete newbie?
So I try to explain it so a 12-year-old can understand it. Because if you go technical, it can get quite technical, because this device is actually a quantum technology. It is developed by a quantum physicist called Meagher, and he's from Germany. The company is from Germany. And for me to explain it in the most simple way, a Healy is actually a small device that you can hold in your hand, and it can be used with a mobile phone. What it does is that it has a quantum sensor inside the device that would basically scan the imbalances for our body and our bioenergetic field. And what makes it so unique compared to any other devices out there, any other frequency devices out there, is that it has this intelligence to basically pick up the right frequency for you. So it will pick up a pool of frequency from the program and then harmonize the field. There are quite different applications. I think about 2 or 3 applications from the Healy. One's through the vibration, and that's on the quantum level. And there's also a physical kind of a level as well, which is like through microcurrent, to basically support the cells in our body. So, our body is an amazing vessel. It basically, it can heal itself, right? So the way I see is that the Healy is actually a tool to support our body, our field, and our cells, so it could actually, like, our body can heal ourselves.
So that
it's a long way.
No, that was beautiful.
Try to keep it simple.
That was beautiful, my friend. And I think you achieved that. And that last point, it brings to mind, one, in most cases, the thing that is in our way is us, right? We're often our own worst enemy. But 2, the flip side of this is, if we can work out how we are getting in our own way, then our body is so beautiful and so powerful that it's always looking to come back to homeostasis. It's always looking to come back to balance, right? I think this is I'd love to get your reflections on this, but I think this is one of the biggest limiting beliefs that is out there at the moment, is that we're meant to be in this chronic state of pain, or we're meant to be in this chronic state of suffering, or we're meant to be in this chronic state of dis-ease. But it's actually the inverse of that. Once we put in the right ingredients and get out of our own way, like I was saying, then there is this magical alignment that takes place. Have you seen that with the Healy work that you're doing?
Absolutely. So I love the area when we speak about when we're in our own way, and a lot of time that's actually the programming that we have growing up through parents, through environment, and what the Healy does is basically just having harmonizing the field to change the information that we have, and basically help us to get us out of our own way, and it does it on a quantum level, which is so amazing, because for someone who was completely new to quantum energy healing, they don't have to know everything about energy. They can feel it, because that's what it does. It creates this bridge in between our matter and energy field. And according to the inventor, he called it the information field. He called it a localized information field, which is the auric field around our body. And there's the information field, which is like the universe, right? We're all interconnected. And in quantum physics, a new exciting discovery, we have this quantum entanglement where we're all connected. You know how sometimes when you're calling someone or thinking about someone, and then before you know it, they call you, right? And a lot of people still don't understand, or yet to understand frequency. They're like, how does this work? I say, look, when you're trying to open the garage door, you press a button, right? And then the frequency match the garage door and it opens. So it's not something we can see, but it's there because we're all frequency. According to Nikola Tesla, if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of frequency, energy, and vibration, because we're all made of frequency and energy.
That's one of my favorite quotes, my friend. And for people listening to the show, I'd highly, if you've listened to the manifestation and abundance episodes I've done, I've talked a lot about this, but one, I'll put them in the show notes for you to go listen to, but I'll just bring up a point here. When you say the quantum entanglement, it brings to mind the holographic universe. We are holographic beings in a holographic universe, right? And the image that comes to mind is one of those holographic cards that you had when you were a kid, maybe, and you cut a corner off that holograph, and that corner that you cut off, even though it's detached, and I'm using my fingers here, that corner would still have the whole image of the larger thing. And that is really what you're saying here. Another way of saying this is that we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. So this is really the quantum of it all, right? There is no, and this is such a cliche thing to say, but it's cliche for a reason. There is no time and space, right? There is no distance. There is no disconnection when we get to this level. So
yes, exactly. There is no separation.
Yes,
we're all one, right? There's no separation. It's all just an illusion.
Yeah.
And it's been proven in science and quantum physics, where two items are brought closer together, they are connected, even though you send it apart. There are scientific papers out there, and it's just amazing. And you can see in the daily life. And I think we live in a world where we so take it for granted now. We don't think that was actually unusual. Like just an example I was sharing about thinking about someone, and then they call us. And a lot of time we have intuition. We all have it in us. They were just really suppressed. And when you open up the field, or you open up to understanding the energy, you could cultivate the ability as well, which is amazing. And the Healy has done that for me, which is I'm forever grateful for this.
Let's
device, so.
Let's get into those examples here, my friend. But before we do that, I'm really grateful for this quantum perspective that you're sharing, because this quantum science and quantum view it's becoming bigger and bigger as a part of the bigger group that we are a part of. what it's also doing is that it's validating a lot of the mystical, spiritual Eastern philosophies, right?
Yes.
That you grew up in, that, you know, that are so big now, right? It's validating these things that have existed for centuries, right? It's validated this idea that we're all expressions of a one source, right? It's validating that, you know, when I set the intention, or I have a prayer for my grandfather who is, you know, hundreds of kilometers away, that prayer, the moment that I hold that prayer in my heart, it is already at its destination. And why is that? It's because of the quantum effect, right?
Exactly. And the Reiki, how do you explain that? And it's just an exciting time, because when I discover quantum physics and study more about it, it makes sense about life makes sense.
Yes.
And it's such a gift for the inventor to try to bring that together. And I feel I need to share about the inventor of Healy, Marcus, because he apart from being a quantum physicist, he was actually a monk for about 12 years in India, when in his early 20s. So his ultimate question is that, what's the meaning of life? Why are we here? And, you know, he's basically bringing science and spirituality together. And that makes sense for me. When I study about quantum entanglement, when I learn all about it, I'm like, that makes sense. And yeah, like you mentioned, it's kind of like uncover the mystery of all these mystical stuff.
Yeah, that's already existed, right? Eetane, let's get into, thank you for sharing the origins of the inventor there. Let's speak more about examples here, because I want people to, in this chat, the intention is to both speak about the Healy, but also speak about that quantum foundation, which is what we're doing. But let's take it back up to surface level, and let's say someone comes to you as a practitioner of the Healy, or they find someone in their local area, or they become a practitioner themselves. Let's give some examples here now of some of the types of things that people can use to heal with the Healy. So maybe what are some physical examples that you've seen or you've helped people with, that the quantum healing around the Healy can support with?
Yeah, so I actually call myself like a Healy member. We don't call ourselves practitioner.
Yeah,
I'm also a psychic facilitator. So we work with partners and for the modality. So the Healy has programs, and it's very easy to use with the phone. And for someone who basically wanted to try about the quantum device, there is a scan function that will help them to understand which part of the body is in balance. Not only it can scan the physical body on the bioenergetic field, it could also scan on emotion and spiritual. So I feel I need to share the practical example of how it works in order for people to understand how it could help them or support them. So the scan function basically scan the person. And the cool thing about that is there's a profile to be created on the mobile phone. And the information of the profile is basically the signature quantum print in the field. So you know how when in the Reiki session, we need pictures of someone or think about someone in order to identify them in the field. So it's the same using the mobile device for that. And then what we do is basically just scan the person with the details and information with that. But prior to scanning, there is a one-step process where the vibration of the person needs to be captured. And that basically is achieved through intention between the two parties, or intention from one person if the other party is, say, for example, as like in the hospital or maybe are not in the area. So intention is very important here. And the scan would basically, through the quantum entanglement, would pick up the information of the person and therefore come up with a report of the scan in terms of any physical imbalances or emotional or spiritual imbalances. The different module for the scans that will show the information. So a resonance scan is about the body. And then there's an aura scan, which is, I find it super fascinating because it pick up information in the field of the person on the quantum level. And that could be information that is karmic, ancestral, or it could be parental. So a lot of time we have this pattern in us that is, we don't know where it comes from, and we behave a certain way. And through the scan, it actually revealed to us, this is actually a pattern coming from, say, parent, or it could be from a few generations beforehand. And it could also be in past life. And it indicates in the report by the number, like the label. And then there is explanation about, what's this pattern and how the harmonization, which kind of affirmation is embedded into the vibration module for us to receive the information. So not only we can see what's out of balance, we then have the solution to harmonize the field. And for people who have actually, get in touch with, and we all experience the Healy, for people who are super sensitive with the energy, they can really feel it, even though they are not localized with me, which is amazing. And I'm sure you've had experience about Reiki, being a Reiki master yourself, about that, the non-localized aspect of things.
So first of all, my friend, beautiful breakdown. And I think, as you're explaining what the Healy's doing here, you spoke about a few things, and I want to go back to the power of intention first that you spoke about. And I really just want to underline how powerful this practice is. When we set our intention, what are we actually doing, right? What does that word mean, right? What does intention mean? Intention is putting something in tension. What are we putting in tension? We're putting our essence, our potential, the creation energy that we're made of, right? That we're looking to export into the outside world in any given moment. We're putting it into a channel. So when Eetane talks about how that intention impacts the process, right? If you forget that, and I'm interested, my friend, have you noticed what happens when people don't set an intention? Is it a whole different situation? Have you noticed?
Yeah, it just scattered because it's like getting into the car and not knowing where you're going, right?
Yes.
And coming from scientific point of view, the way in quantum physics, when you're not paying attention to the wave function, when scientists pay attention to it, it turns into something. But when the attention is taken away, it goes back to wave. And it's the same with intention as well. And the Healy basically work on intention. So intention is very important. The process of the scan require the person to think about what's the best resonance I have right now. And that's the intention. If the intention is about wanting to find out the imbalances on the physical body, then the intention would be what would be the best program that would be suitable for me right now. So the key word here is about now. It's not the past, it's not the future, it's the now, right? Because that's the only thing we have is the now. We don't have the past, there's no future, and the future is the now. As the time is like just, there's no concept of space and time. So another way to describe that is that there is a future and there is a past, but they're folding into the present, right? They exist in this present moment simultaneously. And I love this conversation, my friend. And I think just again, let's go back to the intention piece, but then I want to hit on what you were saying about the auric fields and the different parts of the energetic information field that we can hit on. But another word for the intention within the quantum field of it all, the quantum lens of it all, is the observer effect, right? The observer effect also connects to intention because we know that the act of observation is a act of creation onto itself, right? So by purely observing something, with setting the intention on the thing that we want, that changes it, right? That shifts it. That causes stimulation, right? So it's another thing for that. But Eetane, let's talk about what you're hitting on before of the field and how the Healy helps us see the different
I'll use another word here now, a spiritual word. I would call them soul fragments, right? These traumas, or if you want to call it karmic lessons, or if you want to call it resonance within our field that needs our attention. So you gave the example of, it could be ancestral, it could be past life, it could be connected to our inner child, it could be connected to our heart chakra. So what all these examples are highlighting is that our energetic body is so much bigger than our physical body. And when we start using devices like this,
Yes.
then we can start to get the nuances of what we're actually dealing with. Does this resonate, my friend?
Yes, absolutely. I feel like we can really accelerate our healing when we can actually work on a quantum level and having information about the past life, things that we're not consciously aware of. And, it just really helped to open up so much more. And there's so much to work with as well. It's such a complement tool when there's other modality involved, because, for myself, being a psychic facilitator, I work on subconscious change based on the conscious intention. But information that we get from scanning on the information field, that pick up information about, it could be something to do with the grandparents. And basically, I had a person that I scanned, and she was not aware of the report that mentioned something to do with the grandparents. And, it didn't actually occur to her at the time. That makes sense. But when she read about it later, she got back to me, she said, "Oh, I remember this incident from my mom's story about my grandmother. And I can now make connection about why I behave this way." So that actually is such a huge deal, because it promotes that deeper healing. Because we can't shift what we don't know about a lot of time. But the cool thing about the vibration module in the Healy is that with those information that it picked up, it has the harmonization capability to allow that to start shifting just by vibrating the frequency remotely. And that's just mind-blowing.
Yeah. Well, when you say remotely, it's not remotely, is it? It's right. It's there with you, right?
Yes.
You might see it as remotely, but it's also
Yes.
like, going back to your Reiki example. This is why, I'll share my experience here. This is why when I do Reiki with someone on the other side of the world in the USA, right, and I'm visualizing them and using my symbols and using my hand and connecting to my love to share with them, they receive that as if they are in the same room as me, right? It's because there's no remote here with any of these devices or these modalities. A question that bubbled up, my friend, as you're speaking around this, is this idea of the Healy device is just one example of what we're talking about today, of these quantum machines, these quantum technologies helping us see this quantum reality that exists. Have you noticed, and you alluded to this a little bit before, but I want to dive deeper into it now. Have you noticed that, the Healy is doing its thing and it's giving us this information, but the ability to see these things, whether it's a trauma in my ancestral line, in my auric field, our ability to tune into those things, we have that ability inside of us. So my question for you is, have you noticed either you using the Healy as the person that's helping someone, or someone that's receiving the information from the Healy? Have you seen it fine tune and awaken their own sensitivities to these awarenesses? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, for my personal experience, definitely that's the case. And for a lot of people that I have come in touch with and using the device, they do share their experiences about the differences of the feeling as well. And a lot of time, it also brings up what needs to be shifted, which is very interesting. And it's not necessarily sunshine and rainbow, but we all know the shift is not exact yet. you do have to start facing whatever that comes up, right? So, but all in all, it is a wonderful experience, because when we get over the trauma, then something else open up. We do have to get through the experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just having this conversation this morning about this with a friend, actually, about the balance between shadow work and light work. And what I mean by that is, what you were just explaining about, we have to move through the trauma, and we have to do that. We have to, I call it, it's the layers of the onion, right? We have to pull back the layers of the eternal onion. That's our journey. That's what the soul is here to do. But we also have to be mindful that we want to embrace the shadows, but we also want to embrace our light as well. We don't want to be always in the healing. We don't want to be always in the seriousness of it all. We also want to be in the joy, in the pleasures, in the ecstasy, in the compassion, in the lightness, right? Because life is polarity. It's both of these things, right? Eetane, another question here I want to throw at you is, and I'm going to try and see, because this is a hard one to frame, because I've noticed this in my work with the Lucia light, and I'm wondering if you've noticed this with the Healy. When I'm telling people to connect to a practitioner, whether it's me, whether it's you, whether it's some other coach, therapist, doctor, what I recommend is that they follow their heart. And what I mean by that is, while I think the tool that they use or the modality that they're using to help you heal is important, what I think is more important is the frequency and the love of the practitioner that's being filtered through it, right? So what I mean by this is that when I go get a Healy session with Eetane, the thing that's doing the healing, or the thing that's helping me uncover more of myself, yes, it's the Healy, but I would actually assert it's Eetane's love frequency that is being channeled through the healing. So my question for you is more of an observation, my friend. Have you observed that when you're doing sessions with people, have you observed your unique frequency coming out? Have you observed that, Eetane's soul spirit is just as much a part of the healing as the device or the type of tool that you're using?
Yeah, of course, because we're all so different, right? And I find that personally for myself, the attraction, I tend to attract people who resonates with me. So, and I guess, using it through different practitioner would be a different experience, because we all have a different signature print. And it all has, but the whole idea is, my understanding about the healing is that using whatever tool or modality is that we want to encourage the person and empower them to heal within themselves, but receiving the love from the person who are connected to them at the same time, right? And that connection is all part of the wholeness, one massive field. And with a good intention that they receive from any practitioner, it is on a higher frequency already. And it's amazing, because that's love, that's oneness. And that's just beautiful. I was just driving home from the airport yesterday, because I was in a Healy conference just a weekend past, and I thought about all this, and I started to get really emotional about that. And it was just a really beautiful feeling to have, is to just basically be open to what's possible, and just receive the love, because that's the most important thing. I think we're here to learn. Our soul are here to learn how to love, and all the trauma or anything karmic that, so whatever you want to call that, they're here to teach us how to love, isn't it?
I think that's a profound statement, my friend. I think that's a very profound statement. And I often refer to on this show, this is the cosmic love antenna. And that, what is that love? That love isn't just the emotion or the fleeting experience of love. Love is what we are, right? When I I've explained my journey, and I'll share it a little bit with you here. My journey as a child, I was very detached from the religious and Catholic environment that I grew up in, because I could not connect to the idea that my God, my higher power, was a man on a cloud that was keeping score of the things that I was doing or not doing. So I became atheist, but then didn't feel good to me either. So what helped me connect back into what reality I've now come to see as is that higher power can be that. Higher power can be that love word. Higher power and God and oneness can be love. But if that is the situation, then why did that source, that oneness, that God, that higher power, whatever you want to call it, why did it make all of these unique frequencies that I am, that you are? Well, it's exactly what you said. So that love can experience love in all of its different forms and different situations. Does that resonate with you, my friend?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And when you're saying that, I feel like sharing that, coming from my childhood as well, this is going back to my pain, right? I have a really loving parents, but because they were so busy with work, I did not get I didn't feel that I was loved unconditionally. So that carried on into my adulthood. And interestingly, when I used the Healy in the early days on the aura scan, the heart chakra always came out as the lowest one. And I knew my heart wasn't open, because like I had in a knowing that was the case. And it's just so blessed to be able to harmonize that, to open up the heart chakra. I do meditation and stuff like that as well. But the frequency does help balancing the chakra, which is the 7 chakra system that we have. Yeah.
So for people that are interested in the healing and they want to track one down, and they want to look at someone that's working with it and receive guidance, what is the best way that people can connect to a Healy device, or someone that uses a Healy to help them heal?
Yes, so they can connect to myself or anyone that owns a Healy, and just by contacting one of us, and we can more than happy to basically show, like, do a demonstration and see how it works. It's really quite an amazing, unique device that is very different from the market due to its ability, that's quantum sensor, which is, it's just amazing, being the bridge to connect to matter and feel, and giving its understanding on, all the stuff that we're not conscious of, and then helping us start shifting and harmonizing the field. And
it's just for people that, again, don't know what it is, this is their first time hearing about it. It's very small, right? It's a very small,
tiny
device, right? Yeah.
It could basically be fitted onto the palm. And so it's about, I would say, maybe 4 or 5 centimeters, like a little square. So it's very handy and portable, and it can be carried around. There's a cable that can connect for microcurrent application, but there's also a coil, which is a concept by Nikola Tesla, a Tesla coil application that can be attached to the device, and that basically makes it cordless, and it basically delivers frequency into a certain field. And so it's a Tesla coil concept, which is amazing as well.
And I have a lot of practitioners that listen to this show, a lot of light workers, a lot of healers. How would you know that this device can be supportive in your practice? So, for example, let's say if I'm a yoga teacher, or maybe I've just started a podcast, or maybe I've just had my Reiki certification. Where does the Healy fit into this, if anything? How do we know that this is something that's going to support our practice?
So after using Healy for 2.5 years, right, my own personal opinion is the only limit of what can be used is our imagination, because we can practically program any kind of affirmation into the module. There's a new module that was released a few months ago now. I think it's called the Success Coach. And we have a lot of therapists, coaches, podcaster in our community that has used the module basically focus on finances, career, personal relationship, goals setting. I personally have used it for businesses and goals, and that is so cool because we can basically write our own intention for the goal we want to achieve and select from the database the different category of what would actually help to support the goal. And the result would be a series of information, which is essentially vibration frequency of the affirmation. Because when we repeat the affirmation, writing a gratitude journal, that's basically we're training our brain to resonate with the frequency. Yeah. So this is done through the technology to harmonize the field. And it's very powerful. We have this all sort of creative uses. Some people use it to imprint information to their water. And we all know water hold information. And we are 75-80% of water in our body. And we know that because, the moon affected us, all that stuff. So
there's no limits.
Yes, there is. We have it's just such an amazing journey because we have all kind of different practitioners on board. We have kinesiologists, we have coaches, and the only limitation is the imagination. And the cool thing is after the basic is learned, we can just say, right, what can I use it for now? How can I use it to manifest my dream?
It's kind of a rhetorical trick question that I asked because as you just heard Eetane beautifully highlight, when we really talk about this quantum energy and this quantum field that the Healy works with, it's not biased, right? It's not gonna see your business life or your relationship life or your health journey and say no to those things. It is us, right? This quantum field that we are moving through is the dance floor that we're co-creating with the universe on, right? So it's we can't escape it even if we wanted to. So it's more about leaning in and asking, like you're beautifully highlighting, what is the possibility that I want to alchemize, right? What is the thing that I want to manifest? And then, like we said, using that loving intention to channel it into a specific area. Eetane, a few more questions here I want to pass your way before we wrap up. And I just want to say, it's been so lovely to be in your energy, and I think you're doing beautifully, my friend. I would love to know, when you look into the future, right, and the future is here in this present moment, as we've already defined. When you embody the future and you see this trend of spiritual technology and quantum technology that's helping spiritual beings awaken, where do you think we're going? What do you see as the future of this quantum tech and this spiritual technology that's helping souls awaken to more of themselves?
I think this is going to be coming in the next few years and onwards. I think it's just going to be amazing. We are experiencing so much awakening in all time. We have internet and everyone's learning so much information, and this technology is just going to be a blessing to accelerate the process of human evolution in consciousness. And it's just so beautiful to have a tool like that. I just think each spiritual technology, like the Lucia Light and Healy, they're all really complementary to each other. And the only goal that we have on this planet and in the universe is to just expand the consciousness, because that's what the universe is. It expands all the time, right? And that's what we're here for. We're here to expand, to untap our human potential, which we all have, but suppressed and limited because of our belief system. And this gift is going to just really untap that and help us to get there a lot more quicker, to be honest. And I also want to share, going back to the previous question that we have about the practitioner. I have a friend that is also a PSYCH-K facilitator. She was helping her friend with balancing with a Psyche technique. And she was just recently sharing with me how the Healy has helped her in her work, because what she does is that, as a practitioner, sometimes we have to ask quality questions, right? Asking the right question to basically get into the right, like delve into trauma or awareness of the partner or the clients, because they're not aware of it. So the cool thing about the Healy is that it picked up those information. So when that was being shown in the report, it's not something that, it's not a guesswork. It's been picked up in the field, and it allows that contemplation to happen. It opens up a door to discussion, right? And the cool thing is there were indication as well in the report whether that's actually a confrontational thing or not, which is quite interesting, because then we can decide whether the person is ready to deal with the matter or not, or maybe we should leave it for later. So that's quite unusual, because that takes a lot of, I personally feel like I have a practitioner with me, or a device that can support me basically 24/7, because that's what it does. I can scan anytime I want. And I just want to stress that we can heal ourselves. It's not Healy that heal anybody. The Healy doesn't heal, diagnose, or treat, right? It's our body. It just does the facilitation process. It's the same as Reiki, where we're basically helping them to heal through as a vessel, correct?
It's being a mirror.
Yeah.
It's being a mystical, or in this case, a technological mirror for what we need to see.
Exactly.
And I love how you've pointed that out, of it showed the person that it wasn't time to do it, right? Because I think that is a challenge that we all get into as healers, both as practitioners and doing it on ourselves. I often refer to it as the superhero archetype. We feel like we need to do all the things all the time, and that in itself stops us from healing. So when we can have a machine like this that can reflect back to us the truth that we don't need to be doing it all the time. We just need to be taking one step. And sometimes that one step is nothing. Sometimes that one step is resting and being, right? That's a big reflection in itself, right? Eetane, thank you for sharing that lovely reflection. And I'm really excited. You give me so much. I've had hope already, but hearing you speak about this and what the Healy does, and the quantum side of it all, and the ripples out that it's creating, it fills me with a lot of hope with where we're going. If people have connected to you today, my friend, and they love your heart, they love your beautiful voice and your frequency, and they would love to reach out and connect, either to do a Healy session or something else, where do you want to direct people to find more information?
They can reach me by my email address. So it's eetaneyong@gmail.com. I'll spell it. It's EETANEYONJ@gmail.com.
Beautiful. And do you do sessions? This is probably a silly question, but I'm sure you do sessions virtually. Do you do them over?
Yes,
Zoom?
virtually,
Yep.
over Zoom, and in person as well. And so on Psyche, we don't have limitation of space. No, no time and space. I feel like we're there already, on the way there already.
Yeah, and as always, for all the people listening, I will put Eetane's details in the show notes, so you can just click on the show notes and you'll see how to reach out for her. Eetane, I love you very much. Thank you for spending time with me today. I have one more question for you as we wrap up, and I alluded to it before. This is the Cosmic Love Antenna, and I truly believe that frequency that we do connect to is that space of eternal love or divine love. And I'm wondering, my friend, in your life, how do you personally define that love word?
I see love as just stripping everything down to being yourself, right? And when when everything is, all the junk and is removed, you go down to like that absolute nakedness. That's love. That's just basically sharing from who you are deep in your heart, and just really, really understand that we're here for a very short time, and we should just really focus on spending the time in the 3D dimension that we are in, right? To just be who you are and, be connected to everybody else, and just understand there's no separateness, and just really love everyone around you. And because what we do has a ripple effect. And no matter how big or small they are, there is a ripple effect. Every little thing matter. We are in a cause and effect universe. So if we just stay true with ourselves, we are actually raising consciousness of the planet.
Mm-hmm. That's big. That's big for people to hear, right? Because that, I hear that, and I immediately, weight is lifted off my shoulders, because you remember that you never needed to prove anything, right? You remember you never needed to be anything else except for you, except for what you are. And you being what you are adds to the collective, right? You being what you're made of adds to the bigger evolution of the consciousness at large. Eetane, I think you've done a beautiful job of that today. Thank you for spending time with me. I hope this conversation hit the hearts of all of you beautiful listeners out there in the podcast world. If it did, please head over to Spotify, Apple, leave your feedback. If this gave you some deeper reflections on all things quantum healing on the Healy device, share this out with a friend and a lover that you feel can gain wisdom and guidance out of this today. But regardless, Eetane and I love you unconditionally, and we'll see you next time here on the Cosmic Love Antenna. Bye, everyone. Before I leave you today, beautiful beings, I'm so excited to share a special announcement just with you. On the 20th to the 23rd of April, 2023, I and a fellow guest of the show, the beautiful Ali Paws, will be hosting live in Tulum, Mexico, the Cosmic Heart Tour. If you listen to this podcast week to week and you resonate with my frequency, with my voice, with my love in any of the topics I share with you, then most likely it is time for us to connect and heal in person. So I invite you to join us in Mexico. Join us for some meditations, activations, yoga, cranial sacral therapy, a book release, a live Q&A, poetry, and so much more. These spots are going to fill up super quick because our intention is to make this exclusive and intimate. So please DM me Cosmic Heart Tour on any of my social channels. That's Cosmic Heart Tour on any of my social channels, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and we'll book in a meeting so you can join the love. I'm so excited to connect with you in the flesh. Thank you for listening to the Cosmic Love Antenna with me, your host, Harrison. If you gained value or this episode hit your heart, please remember to share this out with a friend, a family member, or a lover. You can also leave your love over on Apple reviews and Spotify star feedback, and this helps me spread my frequency to more souls in need. Finally, if you want to connect with me deeper, want to reach out, interested in coaching, please follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn at Harrison Meagher, spelled Meagher. Sending you so much love.